This is the XSR900. It's the latest thing to emerge from the time travel machine at Yamaha's Sport Heritage division. Historic lines, futuristic performance. This motorcycle begs a question, but it isn't what, it's when. Cafe racing started here in 1960s Britain with a basic cup of coffee and the desire to go fast. But nowadays it's less about performance and more about style. I'll show you what I mean, and I quote from Yamaha. The XSR900 has a neo-retro design made for genuine, authentic materials, for riders with authentic values looking for an authentic and honest motorcycle. Now whatever the hell that means, it certainly doesn't sound like the performance-driven UJMs of the past. It sounds more like some kind of phony Gen Y throwback. To see which tradition the XSR belongs to, I'm racing from Cafe 1963 to a modern day coffee shop. Right off the bat, this bike feels legit. Upright ergonomics yet on the cutting edge of performance, just like the original UJMs. The 32.7-inch seat height is adequate for my 6'3" frame, although my knees don't quite fit into the indents on the tank, and the 195 kilogram curb weight hints at ultralight, modern components. But does the XSR900 have the speed that the real cafe racers would have sought after, or is it just another gutless tribute to days gone by? This looks like a good place to find out. The XSR900 used the same frame and engine from 2014's blockbuster FZ09. It's an 847cc inline triple that produces so much power and character all the way around the tachometer that it almost made us forget about the FZ09's kamikaze on-off fuel delivery and its comical suspension. But Yamaha fixed those problems with the XSR900. They damped out the forks so they don't bounce me all over the road anymore, and the throttle operates a lot less like a light switch. In essence, they took a really fast motorcycle and they made it easier to ride fast. So maybe the XSR900 can brew with the original cafe racers after all. But during the Cold War, when this airstrip was built, there was only one way to judge whether a bike was worthy of the title. Time to ton up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 6 gear, 100 miles an hour. That's so much more! 10, 20, 130, oh, this is fast! Oh, and I'm running out of runway. Brakes, 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 brakes. Woo! When I touched back down to earth, I noticed some other stuff too. The bike is very flickable and it often dislikes using both of its wheels. This refined as well: ABS, 2-level traction control, 3-level driving modes. Standard is good for taking the edge off around the city, A brings the full throttle response up to telepathic, and B makes the bike drive badly, so to be honest I could have done with just 2 driving modes. I should also mention the clutch because Yamaha seems so proud of it. Basically this is an assisted slipper, so the pull is 20% lighter and it reduces rear wheel chatter when I downshift hard. But, I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I find that the engine braking on the XSR900 is strangely weak to begin with. So other than going a little bit easy on my left hand, the slipper doesn't do much for me. And there's another problem when I get to the city. You know that stiffened suspension that made the bike carve so beautifully? Well, it's also letting me feel every bump and dip of our shitty road construction. Yamaha did make the seat wider and more comfortable since the FZ09, but I've still got bruises in places you don't want to see. A couple bruises later, and I arrive at our present-day cafe. My nose tingles with the scent of craft coffee, and my eyes burn with the sight of cafe racers that only look the part. They're certainly cool, but they're not intended for performance, just 2016 style symbols dressed up for the 1960s. And I'm so happy because the XSR900 doesn't really fit in here. dense mass of engine, radiator, sensors, and electronics, the sport rubber, the undeniably low-slung frame. This bike isn't some watered-down throwback, it's a real performer, a racer in the oldest, truest sense of the word. So would I buy one? Well, it certainly outperforms everything in the vintage class. The R9T is too expensive, the CB1100 is a dinosaur, Triumph Bonnies aren't going to touch the performance, the Guzzi is impossible to find, Ducati Spark Classic is dead, and the Scrambler just feels like a toy by comparison. But no, I wouldn't buy an XSR900. It's just too much motorcycle for its own good. If I want a naked sport bike, I'll get a naked sport bike. And if I just want a retro machine to flounce around town, then, well, why burden myself with 115 fire-breathing horses? I do love this motorcycle. I really wish that it made more sense. But this isn't 1963, and the space between cafes just isn't big enough for modern firepower.